Chris Eubank Jr. wins a unanimous decision against Arthur Abraham. Omar Figueroa Jr. stops Robert the Ghost Guerrero. And Sullivan Barrera defeats Joe Smith Jr. by unanimous decision. Now, let's talk about all three fights. Chris Eubank Jr. did pretty much exactly what I said he was going to do in my prediction. He outboxed Arthur Abraham. He was younger, faster, and just a better all-around boxer than Abraham. He shut Abraham out and won pretty much every round in the fight. Eubank Jr. has earned his way into the World Boxing Super Series at super middleweight. He looked pretty good in this fight, and it'll be interesting to see how well he does in the tournament. Now, on to Figueroa Guerrero. Robert Guerrero started off the fight really strong. He was landing crisp combinations and crisp punches, and Omar Figueroa seemed to not really have an answer for them in the first round. Guerrero turned it up even more in the second round, coming straight for Figueroa. And the two were exchanging punches in the trenches. But in those up-close exchanges, Figueroa was definitely coming on top. And I don't know if you guys caught this, but it was kind of funny. Robert Guerrero hit himself with his own left uppercut. He basically rocked himself. Shortly after that, Omar Figueroa landed an uppercut, a nasty uppercut that Guerrero didn't see coming, and dropped Guerrero. Figueroa continued to pile on the punishment onto Guerrero, dropping him twice more in that round. In the third round, Guerrero came out furiously, as he did in the second round, and came straight at Figueroa, basically serving himself on a silver platter to Figueroa. Omar knocked down the Ghost 2 more times in the third round, and the fight was stopped. Rightly so, because Robert Guerrero was taking a beating. Aside from the first round, Omar Figueroa looked great in this fight. He's awesome on the inside. He's someone that you don't want to get into a trench warfare with. And he's going to go down as the first guy to actually stop Robert Guerrero, which is always a good scalp to have on the resume. As far as where Robert Guerrero goes from here, it's obvious the guy's way past it and he needs to retire. He's had a great career, put on some good fights, but he definitely doesn't need to take any more punishment. As far as Omar Figueroa goes, I think he's going to return to 140, because this fight was at 147, and maybe get a big fight down there. Now let's move on to the Sullivan Barrera-Joe Smith fight. Sullivan Barrera came out pretty strong in the first round. He started backing Joe Smith Jr. up from round 1 in this fight. Sullivan was pretty much dominating Joe, and the two got into an exchange, and Joe Smith Jr. dropped Sullivan Barrera with a left hook. Sullivan Barrera, being the tough guy he is, he got up, finished the round, and came back in the next round, and the rest of the fight to pretty much dominate Joe Smith Jr. Joe managed to land a few punches here and there, but other than that, Sullivan Barrera took the fight to Joe Smith Jr., taking Joe Smith Jr. out of his game. Sullivan was putting the pressure on Smith Jr., a role that Smith isn't used to. Joe Smith Jr. is a pressure fighter. He's used to putting the pressure on his opponents. He's not a boxer. And as I said in my prediction for this fight, neither guy is really that good at fighting on their back foot. So aside from the first round, Sullivan Barrera pretty much had a clean sweep. Aside from maybe the last round, which kind of ended in controversy because it was scheduled to be a 12-round fight, And out of nowhere, the referee comes out in the 10th round and says that it's the final round. Now, in that final round, Sullivan Barrera seemed to start getting a little sloppy and maybe a little tired. And Joe was landing some punches. So it's kind of a shame that Joe Smith Jr. didn't have his chance, or Sullivan Barrera for that matter, to go out there for those last 2 rounds and try to stop their opponent. It definitely benefited Sullivan Barrera because he was winning most of the rounds up to that point. So this is just another shady moment in boxing. This is the exact kind of thing that turns off casual fans from the sport. It's just a shame because in the 10th round, the fight started heating back up. Sullivan was starting to get tired and Joe was starting to warm up. It's just weird to me. But anyway, Sullivan Barrera definitely deserved to get the decision up to that point, to the 10th round. Because for the most part in the fight, Joe Smith Jr. just didn't look himself. I'm not sure where Joe goes from here, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to try to make a fall matchup between Sullivan Barrera and Sergey Kovalev. That's definitely a fight to look forward to in the future. So as far as my predictions went, I was right about Eubank Jr. winning by unanimous decision, and I was right about Omar Figueroa taking out the Ghost. I thought that Joe Smith Jr. was going to look a little bit more dominant against Sullivan Barrera, but the fight prematurely ended, which definitely leaves some open questions about that bout. But anyways, let me know what you thought about tonight's fights in the comments section. I want to know how you thought Chris Eubank Jr. looked. Let me know if you think Robert the Ghost Guerrero should retire or not. And also, give me a little insight on what you feel about the Joe Smith Jr. Sullivan Barrera fight ending kind of prematurely. And let me know what could have happened if that fight went on for another 2 rounds. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Real Boxing 100, out.